Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see panelists' faces on screen, and good morning to those who have joined us online. Welcome to our special panel this morning, Embracing Diversity, Black Women Build Businesses. So this morning, we're going to hear from entrepreneurs, and they're going to share their experiences at this Dalhousie Promise Scholar event. So thank you to the Faculty of Management, and special shout out to the Promise Scholars Initiative. And welcome and thank you to our guests who are joining us virtually. And of course, thank you to our panelists who are here for this morning's conversation, and you'll get to meet them all in a few moments. And we want to acknowledge that Dalhousie University is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. We are all treaty people. We also want to recognize that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched Mi'kma'ki for over 400 years. And of course, this is February. It's almost the end of the month, which is hard to believe. But we're in African Heritage Month, so happy African Heritage Month to everyone. And the 2022 African Heritage Month here in Nova Scotia is Through Our Eyes. The Voices of African Nova Scotians recognizes the legacy of people of African descent through first voice, lived realities, and experiences. So that's just a little bit to get us started. And now I have the honor of introducing our four panelists, and they'll each have about 3 minutes to give you a little bit of background and introduce themselves. And so first, I'm going to ask Renee to share a little bit about her story. And Renee Boudreau is the founder of Elevate and Explore Black Nova Scotia. So welcome, Renee, and go ahead.
Thank you so much, Jalana. I'm very grateful to be here, and happy African Heritage Month, everyone. So as Jalana mentioned, my name is Renee Boudreau, and I am the founder of Elevate and Explore Black Nova Scotia. I'm originally from Truro, and I have ancestral ties to Africville, Shelburne, and East Preston, which is where I currently reside. I work full-time with the Association of Black Social Workers, leading a project based on gender-based violence within our African Nova Scotian communities. But why I'm here today is to talk a little bit more about my business, Elevate and Explore. So what really inspired me to start Elevate and Explore Black Nova Scotia is my passion for travel and community. So my business is aimed to encourage more Black travelers across the world to visit Nova Scotia and to inspire people from all backgrounds to get out and explore our beautiful province. So I realized through my travels, oftentimes I would get asked the question, where are you from? And people would be shocked to learn that I'm from Nova Scotia and that there's actually Black people here who have been here for over 400 years. So I thought, wow, like, there's definitely a lot of gaps and people maybe just not knowing that there are Black people here. Maybe they weren't taught it in school, or they didn't read about it, or hear much about it. So I was thinking, what can I create that really shows that representation and creates that awareness that we are here, and that we have a lot of thriving Black businesses, a lot of talent, a lot of beautiful historic Black communities. So that's really what my business is about. It's showcasing Black Nova Scotia, hoping people will learn more about our culture and our heritage and our history, but also just showcasing Black people enjoying living in this province, whether it be Black people exploring Peggy's Cove or the waterfront, or skiing or skating at the Oval, just showcasing Black people enjoying themselves here. So thank you so much. Very grateful to be here.
Great, thank you, Renee. And you're right, we are here. I love that.
Mhm.
So next, I'll ask Joyce to say hello, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about her business. Joyce Adom is the founder of Simply Go Natural Cosmetics. Welcome, Joyce.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and to be among you beautiful women, strong women, Black women. So yes, my name is Joyce Adom, founder of Simply Go Natural Cosmetics. I'm from Ghana. I'm Ghanaian, but I moved to Sweden after high school in Ghana and to further my education. So I lived in Sweden, studied there, and then I moved on to the UK to continue my education. So I have my first and second degree, my degree in accounting and business information technology from in London, and then my master's is in human resource management from University of Surrey. So yes, I came to Canada for family reasons, and my business Simply Go Natural Cosmetics. We make natural hair and skincare product um, for everyone. But I'm also a natural hair educator, and I try to educate people because when I came here, I realized that a lot of people, their perception about natural hair was really not the best. And so I took it upon myself to educate people with natural hair and provide a natural product to make it easy for those who wish to go natural, because I felt like there's so many issue going on within the Black community, the general community, in schools, workplaces, and a lot of it is tied to hair and maybe the skin. And Black people may be made uncomfortable in their natural hair and their natural skin. And then, of course, they're wearing products for people that chooses to go natural. There weren't enough product designed for them. So I decided to make the product and became a natural hair educator. But our product is not just for Black people. Everyone can have natural hair. Everyone can have healthy hair care. So basically, it's healthy hair care, and Black people happen to be the one that needed it quite the most at the time, and even now. So yes, we are based in Halifax here in Nova Scotia. I make all the product, and we are in Sobeys. Most of the Sobeys in Halifax, the big Sobeys. We are coming to Truro, Yarmouth, and yes, for now. But we are looking forward to have the product in all Sobeys stores nationwide. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Joyce. And so next we'll welcome Ashley Hill to tell us a little bit about her business and her background. And Ashley Hill is the founder and executive director of the Prep Academy. So welcome, Ashley.
Good morning, folks. Thank you so much for having me on this panel today. I'm the founder and executive director of the Prep Academy, a community-based nonprofit organization that inspires and prepares African Nova Scotian students for college and university. In my regard about myself, I am passionate about student advancement, education, and the development of African Nova Scotian communities. I'm originally from Dartmouth with family ties in the Preston Township area, East Preston, North Preston, Cherrybrook, and also from Digby and Bear River. Really excited today to kind of share a little bit about my story. I am a first-generation university student, so the first in my family, both sides of my family, to receive a university degree. I created the Prep Academy based on my personal lived experience as an African Nova Scotian in HRM transitioning to college and university. I had some really great educators and friends and partners, kind of at the high school level, but unfortunately was one of those students that slipped through the cracks. And I remember applying to Dalhousie actually after the March 1st deadlines. I wasn't really aware of those opportunities, and kind of working with youth again, coming back full circle after spending time in a few different industries, I realized that there are gaps specifically for students, African Nova Scotian students, and wanted to create something. Wanted to create a platform or support systems so students wouldn't have to experience what I did. I unfortunately was on academic probation at Dalhousie, and this is something that I was afraid to tell people for a very long time and really ashamed of it, but learning to live my truth and allowing that story to be told to share and inspire other students. So I attended Dal, had a very hard time transitioning. I was an honor student in high school, but unfortunately failed a few classes in my first year and got that letter that, all students kind of hate to receive, that you're on academic probation and now you're asked to leave and take time away from university for a year. I didn't take time. I fought through that process, had some support from individuals at Dalhousie University, specifically Quinta Adams, who assisted me with that, and was able to come back and finish my degree, and wanted to just recognize the lack of resources, experiences, opportunities, and information that high school students receive to prepare them for college and university. And so last year, I created the Prep Academy. We are working with students in September. We have 55 grade 12 African Nova Scotian students we're supporting across the province, with cohorts of students, so students from Yarmouth all the way through to Cape Breton. We have an amazing team and board behind us, and we're really looking forward to growing in the future. So that's a little bit about me and about my organization, and really happy to be here. I never saw myself as an entrepreneur until organizations started reaching out and saying, yes, you're building something from the ground up. You're in startup phase. You are an entrepreneur. So kind of living in that moment for a little bit, but happy to be here with everyone.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. And thank you for sharing your personal story. And it's interesting how all your personal stories are connected to your businesses. So Shekara, I want to give you a chance to say hello and tell us a little bit about your work as an entrepreneur. Cara Grant is co-founder of Change is Brewing Collective. So welcome, Shekara.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. I already feel so inspired listening to everyone's stories. I'm very excited to see how the next hour goes. But just to tell you a little bit about me, my name is Cara Grant. I am from Cherrybrook, Nova Scotia, and I also graduated from Dalhousie. I graduated in 2019 with a combined honors in both sociology and French. And as most university graduates, I'm not really doing anything in those specific fields. I found myself kind of leaning towards entrepreneurship, and just like everyone here has mentioned, kind of filling a void that exists in our province and in our country more generally. So I, along with 6 other folks, co-founded the Change is Brewing Collective. So we are a Black and Indigenous collective who works with local breweries and local cideries to produce a product. And then we donate a portion of the profits to local initiatives in our region. So the thing that's most appealing to me about this concept that we've created is that we've been able to really get to know our community members and also kind of introduce them to an industry that has historical roots in the Black and Indigenous world in Nova Scotia. So we also have a brew coming out actually today. It came out today with North Brewing, and this one is all about Africville, because we were so fortunate to speak to an elder from Africville who used to tell us stories about how he would bury his brews in the hills of Africville and leave it there to ferment in fishing barrels. So what we're really trying to do here is show that there is this history that exists in Nova Scotia, and we hope to inspire more people to kind of call on their stories and share their stories and insert our place into that industry.
That's great. Thanks, Shekara. And I have some of Changes Brewing cans in my fridge, and some of them are so beautiful that I don't ever want to open them or drink them. I kind of am collecting some of them, so it's nice to know about the new one. I'll have to pick that up. So now we're going to just start with some questions for folks, and I have different questions for different people, but if you want to kind of second or add, please feel to jump in. So Rene, I'll start with you. And my question is, when you started your business, what were some of the supports that helped early on? And maybe you can let us know also when you started your business, but when you did, what were some of the things that helped you?
Yeah, for sure. So I started my business in December 2019, so shortly before the pandemic actually hit. And at that time, my focus was really on attracting more Black travelers to visit the province. But at that time, of course, traveling kind of stopped. So then my focus shifted to encouraging local people to get out and explore, which it all kind of happened organically, but I really am grateful that it happened the way that it did. Because it really allowed me to build a better and stronger foundation for my business. So I would say what the supports that helped me most in the early days definitely would be community and family. So before I even started Elevate and Explore, I brought together some close friends to have like a focus group. And I just asked them, like, if somebody was visiting Nova Scotia for the first time, what would you recommend they do? What places would you recommend they visit? And if they want to get that Black experience, like, what would you say they should do? Or what businesses would you say they should support? So then when I started creating an Instagram, I just started with one picture, and I found that like the community and friends that I have were just like sharing posts, liking posts, commenting, and that created more exposure for the business. So I would say my biggest support starting out would be community 100%.
Great, thank you. And Ashley, what about you? So when you started your business, and let us know when you did, what were some of the supports that helped you in your early days? You might still be in your early days.
Yeah. Yes, we are. We started the business, the organization, April 9th, 2021. That's the date on the certificate of incorporation. So less than a year. I think what's really supported, I wasn't sure where to go to start a nonprofit organization. I knew it wasn't a business based on how we wanted to be funded and how we wanted to offer free services and free programming to students. So I tapped into Common Good Solutions, and Common Good Solutions was able to connect me with a lawyer who was able to identify a few streams, whether or not I'm wanting to develop a nonprofit, a business, a community investment company, and still working with that lawyer today. Almost, I'd say, a year and a half in, really just walking through every point. I think it's really power of connections for me. What helped me in my early days, knowing people at Common Good Solutions, knowing individuals in my community circles, tapping into existing executive directors that run nonprofit organizations, and just being able to pick up the phone and ask a quick question. Because I wasn't really sure, there's lots of places to go to start a business, but not necessarily a nonprofit. So I think power of connections for me is what supported me.
We've got friends, we've got family, we've got community, connections, lawyers. So networks kind of everywhere, but it sounds like we're starting close to home and then growing from there. So Joyce, next question is for you. And your background sounds like it might have prepared you in a sense for some of the elements of running your business. But when it comes to navigating all the administrative and logistical tasks, how do you stay organized? You talked about having your products in Sobeys. How do you stay organized?
I did a lot of courses that helped me to realize that I need to get structured, and that is routine. I had to create a routine to make sure that when I follow those routine, I get things done. If not, things you get overwhelmed so easily. So routine has been very helpful. So I have a morning routine when I do that because I have two kids and I have a husband. so so without routine, there's so little. You can have a whole day and do very little without routine. So I decided to do that. So I have my routine, morning routine, and then during the day I do my things, and then by the time the kids get home, most of the job is done, and then uh, do the home family routine, finish that, and then do nighttime routine, and it continues. So routine has been very, very helpful. It has helped me to get so much done.
Great. And sounds like you have a few different routines. I think sometimes we all wear different hats depending on the time of day or the day of the week. But the interesting piece about being an entrepreneur is that you're often kind of managing yourself, managing your own time. You are your own boss, is just the beauty of it. So Shekara, I think you said there's 6 co-founders, correct me if I'm wrong. But let me know, how do you stay organized when there's a group of folks who are running the show at Changes Brewing. How do you kind of stay in touch with each other, make sure everybody know what everybody's doing and know who has to take the lead on what?
Yeah, so I would say it's a pretty unique situation that we found ourselves in because we really didn't even expect for Changes Brewing to get to the level it's at now. So at the beginning, it was very, very difficult to coordinate, 7 schedules. It happened, we started Changes Brewing in June 2020. So it was when we were just coming out of the pandemic. So it started with us having all the time in the world to do whatever we wanted, to then having to navigate around each other's schedules. But it's been great so far. What our strategy has been to figure out where everyone excels, because we all bring incredible and different assets to the team. So my personal asset is organization and structure. I'm like Joyce, I love a calendar, I love a schedule. So that's where I excel. But as you mentioned earlier with the cans, for example, I can't do graphics to save my life. So that's another member who is responsible for that. So I think another big part of administration work is knowing where you're strong and knowing maybe what's not in your wheelhouse. And it's not a bad thing to ask for help from others. That's definitely been a huge benefit for us.
Great, thank you. And thanks to folks who, again, hello to people who have joined us. And thanks for folks who are engaging via the chat. And we know you're sending positive energy through the chat, so we appreciate that. Renee, what about you? How do you manage administrative? I think it might be just you. How do you kind of stay organized? And how do you manage your own time?
Yeah, so I would say similar to what Joyce mentioned with having like a calendar and a routine. I try my best to kind of stay on top of things. So I'll try to do it like if there's a task that I need to do or an email I need to respond to or somebody to reach out to, I try to do it while it's on my mind. But if I can in that moment, I usually will write it down in my calendar and set a deadline. Deadlines, I think, are really important because sometimes if I don't have a deadline, I may procrastinate and put it off. So having deadlines, writing things down is really important. I also work full time. So just trying to balance, my full-time job with my business. Summertime for the business is usually the busiest. So kind of planning far in advance for what events will take place during that time period. Just really trying to kind of, write things down, stay ahead, stay on top of things, plan in advance, create deadlines. So I would say that's been really helpful for me.
Great. And Ashley, I'm going to ask you too, and also feel free to let us know, are there apps? Are there platforms? Are there special calendars? Or maybe you're one of those people who still uses a physical calendar. Ashley, how do you stay organized?
Yeah, so I think I'm learning to leverage technology to help me stay organized. I am big on routine, so I hear Joyce about that as well. So here at Prep, we use Slack for communication, and I'm really big on setting up what the process is and kind of hearing from the team if we need to change that process or revise that process. But once we identify what our process is, that kind of helps keep us organized. So we have different channels in our Slack group. We can ping things. We use Google Docs. So when we're typing documents, it's about sharing those docs with team members and board or external partners to collaborate on. I am someone who definitely has a notebook with me at all times and a calendar. So every Sunday, I try to map out my day or my week. And Sunday is kind of like a refresh day for me, which is kind of mostly a non-work day. So I clean my desk, make sure I'm coming to a nice clean desk on Monday. But I also identify what my goals are and what my priorities and tasks are for the week. I have that written down in a task tracker on Google spreadsheet, and then I list it based on priority. So if it's number 1, number 3, you then can tag people in those comments. We have a spreadsheet for all staff, so we're all kind of understanding where our priorities are for the week. I recently started penciling time in my schedule from 8 to 8:45 every morning, 3 days a week to do emails, making sure that, the busy hustle and bustle of meetings and connecting with partners, but that I have dedicated time to get back to folks. Yeah, I think that is really everything, but leveraging technology for sure, with my phone, with Slack, with apps, with Google. Plus, I have 1,000 headers on the top of my computer, so easily accessible to find a lot of things.
Great. And I'm inspired to hear you say that you set aside time for emails, because I feel emails can often they can go on forever. The more you send, the more you have to write, because the more you receive. So that's a really smart way to approach it, setting aside specific time. So I'm taking tips. So Joyce, I'm going to ask you the next question. So when you prepared to upscale your business, it sounds like you have upscaled and you continue to upscale. What steps did you take to kind of feel like you were entering or ready to enter the next phase or the next level? And did it happen naturally? Did you have to kind of plan and prepare to upscale? What did that look like for you?
For me, it was gradual, but I used to go to the market, and I used to listen to people that have gone ahead of me, those who have their product in Sobeys or other stores, and I would take their advice about um, you have to plan ahead. So, but basically, what I did was I took a lot of courses. Mastermind courses, time management courses, social media courses, um, so many courses so that I can be on top of what I'm doing, because I wasn't getting much help from anybody. But most of the things I felt like I needed to know all these things so that I know what I want to do. But one of the things that was quite important for me was trade shows, because I have a product base, and networking events were really, really helpful. For me, it wasn't just going to approach Sobeys directly, even though it was difficult to even find where to go. So the finding where to even go to meet Sobeys was something. Where do I find that? But it was networking events, events like this where someone says something and then I take note, or maybe some trade events. I've been to so many trade events, so it's more of making sure that I'm prepared to take on that step, meaning the trainings I need to get, my mindset. Am I ready physically, mentally? My environment. I took a course what helped me to get myself really organized, because especially when you're a maker, entrepreneurs, we have so many things going on. So we have so many ideas. We can have billion things going on. We want to do that. We want to do that because we are that creative. So we have so many ideas. But then if you don't focus on one thing at a time, you can have so much going on and nothing is happening. So I had to take a course to get me focused on what do I want to do now? What am I really good at now? And focus on there, and focus on where do I want to be? Who am I targeting? Where do I want to see myself? Which store do I want to be in? Not be everywhere. So I had to get a strategy to get me to focus on where am I going? What do I need? What resource or which training do I need to get me to get there? Where do I need to be? Which environment do I need to be? Networking event. Do I go just everywhere? Where do I go to get to get myself linked to the resource that I need? So some of the networking events were to be with the Center for Women in Business. Center for Women in Business. They have it's a network of women in business in Nova Scotia. So you get to network with them. You get to they meet every week on Thursday 9 o'clock. So the time we started, that is the time they meet. You don't have to be a member. You sign up, and then you get to hear other women like you, and you get inspired. I like being in such environment because I get inspired. They might not do exactly the same what I'm doing, but I get to learn something that they are doing that I could implement. And sign up to organize. There are so many organizations. Sign up to their newsletter so that I can be linked to activities like trade events, networking events that can help me. So it was a build up. It didn't happen overnight. I had to place myself in those positions to get access to all these things and to build my psyche to get me together.
Great. So, Joyce, it sounds like you are a lifelong learner, entrepreneur, and you're also very intentional. So identifying where you're trying to get and then taking the right steps to get there. So, Shekara, I'll ask you the same question. So, your Changes Brewing sounds really interesting because you partner with different businesses, which sounds like it could get complicated because I'm sure every time the businesses that you partner with might operate a little bit differently. So, what steps did Changes Brewing take to kind of get itself to the next level, or get itself to a place where it kind of could engage with multiple folks maybe at the same time to think about how can we collaborate, what's coming next? So how did Changes Brewing kind of get itself ready to take itself to the next level?
Yeah, it definitely was and still is complicated in that respect. I think with Changes Brewing, we released our first beer, and that day we made an Instagram account and had over 1,000 followers. So it was very overwhelming to start, and we kind of had to work backwards a little bit. So then we had to, that's when we were like, oh, we can like do this. Like this is going to be a business. So then we had to look at incorporation. Do we want to be a business? Do we want to be a community interest company, a nonprofit? There were a lot of questions that we didn't necessarily have the answers to. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs or just people with ideas have to go through it as well. So what I did, I guess, within my role of Changes Brewing, I started looking for programs that could support me and teach me the skills maybe I didn't have or that were missing from the collective itself. So especially when you're talking about upscaling, registering your business is very, very, very important. And it's something that I didn't have any experience with. So it's actually funny because I met Renee and Joyce before this because we've been in accelerator programs together. So I would say if you're looking to upscale, I would definitely suggest looking for some accelerator programs that can help you. And basically an accelerator program is a program where you go in with an idea and they kind of help you develop that idea into a business. So Renee and I met through one through Common Good Solution, and Joyce and I through Volta. Yeah. So those have been a huge, huge help. As well with upscaling, I rely on the Black Business and Professional Association a lot. Their website is bbpa.org, but it's a free organization that's based in Toronto, and they do weekly sessions on Tuesday for Black women specifically. I can't remember the name of the course, but it's about 2 hours on a Tuesday, and they will give you all the information that you need to move forward. They'll also help you connect with people that may need, people that you may need support from. So I think Ashley had mentioned getting a lawyer. That is a huge, huge, huge thing, I think, that a lot of people struggle with because getting a lawyer is quite expensive. So even if you can talk with someone like Ashley or like Changes Brewing or someone from an accelerator program who has already been through it, that's also a huge support. So when you're, I guess to sum it up, when you're upscaling, I would definitely say to reach out to your network because it's very important to try to find some accelerator programs that can give you support and also some online panels, programs like this that can help you understand what's next, what the next step could be.
Great. So I just want to remind folks who are listening in to, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat, and then we'll get a chance to ask the panelists those questions. So I'm going to ask you, Renee, the same question. I know that I've been reading about you recently. You've been winning awards, and warm season is upon us. So I'm just wondering kind of like, how do you or how did you take your business from an idea, and you talked about kind of friends and family supporting you, and now you're kind of out there. I'm reading about you. How did you kind of upscale and grow your business to take it to the next level?
Yeah, so when I started my business, I was kind of like, I just want to be, behind the scenes. I don't really want to be all, my face everywhere. And then as I started the business, I realized that I kind of have to be the face. And so I would say, like, definitely putting myself out there As it was mentioned, like networking, applying to be a part of specific mentorship programs, that definitely helped. And also like leaving my comfort zone. So I think last year I did like 15 news interviews. Like I was in a bunch of articles. And so interviewing isn't really what I would consider my thing, but I knew that if I didn't do it, nobody was going to do it. And it was going to be beneficial to the business because I would get more exposure. So I think for me, I really had to, sometimes say yes when I really wanted to maybe say no. But I think that's all part of like growth and being able to upscale your business. It's leaving comfort zones. And then also with my business, I don't have like a background in tourism. So a lot of the connections that I made within tourism were just me kind of introducing myself. I didn't really know anybody personally to really reach out to. So I sometimes would be in spaces where I'm the only person of color, the only Black person, or the only Black woman. And I would realize, that there's still a lot that I have to learn about the tourism industry. It's sometimes being in uncomfortable situations, but I think for me, my biggest thing was really like putting myself out there and being okay to leave my comfort zone. And that's, I think, when I realized that I'm able to really take my business to the next level because I'm willing to really put myself out there and hopefully make an impact and just really create something that doesn't really exist here in Nova Scotia. So I would say that definitely helped, along with the networking and being a part of these programs. So as Shekara mentioned, we were in the Common Good Solutions program together. And then I was also accepted into a program called BIPOC Taking Black Businesses. It was with Black and Indigenous entrepreneurs, and I received a $10,000 grant to upscale my business. So that also played a huge role in taking my business to the next level. So I'm really grateful for that.
Great, thank you. And it's nice to hear about the connections that you've all made, even outside of this space. And also, Renee, I appreciate you saying that you didn't necessarily want to be the face, but kind of realized you had to be. And I think sometimes as Black women, we tend to kind of encourage others and promote others and not necessarily want to step into the limelight ourselves. But I'm glad that you recognized and then you did make that step. That's great. So we've got some questions in the Q&A, and I think I'll just jump to those now, actually. And so thanks for folks for engaging. So the first question, I wonder if businesses would be helped by a supportive community of other Black entrepreneurs. Does that exist now? How do you connect with other business owners or other entrepreneurs, resources, and knowledge? So Ashley, maybe I'll start with you for that question.
There we go. I couldn't get off mute. Thank you, Sandra, for that question, and love that question came from Sandra. I've been participating on a few panels, and she's been at every one, so it's great to see her name pop up again. I think so. I am a part of a community-based group called ACE, and we are 13 young professionals, disruptors in our own lanes, making changes and really wanting to come together to highlight and amplify African Nova Scotians with arts, culture, community, and economics. And this question makes me think of the ACE group. What a supportive community of other Black people, other Black entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurs in their own lanes. We have counselors, business people, individuals doing masters and holding down jobs, running daycares, starting companies. And so we kind of leverage each other. And so sometimes we'll see chats pop up. How do I do this? Or who can connect me here? This is kind of an area where I'm struggling. So I think that naturally happens within our group. Just taking a look at Sandra's question, I've if you haven't heard of a group called Tribe Network, they are an entrepreneurship and innovation hub. They are a community of Black, Indigenous, and people of color pursuing entrepreneurship and innovation. So you can dive over to tribenetwork.ca and essentially connect and engage with Black entrepreneurs across Atlantic Canada who are doing amazing things and finding tribes of people and communicating with one another. But that kind of brings me back to my first point around what supported me, and it was the connections for me. So even if you're not sure who to talk to, I'm going to reach out to Shekara after this and, kind of stay connected with her. And I think we're kind of both moving in a similar way. So building that connection and getting out there. I think that comes as being a business owner or an entrepreneur or an executive director, is you just have to build those connections and let people know that this is where you are. How can we support each other through our journey?
Great. And I passed it to you first, Ashley, because I was hoping you would talk about ACE and I was hoping you'd talk about tribes. So
Yeah.
excellent. And Joyce, did you want to add anything to this question from Sandra?
Yes, I do. First of all, I will start by saying I have a group on Instagram. I started a group on on Instagram again in 2020 for this same reason. The fact that there wasn't any networking for Black people, and the fact that the resources, because I realized that there were organizations after the Black Lives Matter thing in 2020. Organizations were getting resources, but the resources were there, but it wasn't reaching Black people themselves because we weren't in a one space. So I was sharing that. So when I get those resources, because I had already placed myself in so many places, I could get those resources. So Black Business Network .ca on Instagram, or Black Business Network Canada on Facebook. I also have a WhatsApp group with women. I have 53 women on that WhatsApp group where it's just Black businesses. So you can reach out to me on my Facebook, Instagram page, or Facebook, or LinkedIn, anywhere. Reach out to me if you want to be part of that group. It's just sharing resources and networking, what we need. That is one. Second is the BPA that Shekara, you mentioned. BBPA is has been very helpful. They have women's group on WhatsApp. There is almost 300 women on that, Black women alone, and across Canada, on that WhatsApp group where they are doing businesses, doing things, collaborating, sharing resources. Sharing. It's not about experiences, but it's all business. So if you Google BBPA, or if you go on that Instagram page, blackbusinessnetwork.ca, on Instagram, you get. I've been sharing all these things on this. I repost every event that I find. I repost them, so you can follow all these different groups of organizations that are helping Black businesses. You can follow them, and so this BBPA, I really wanted to emphasize it because BBPA is helping. And then there's a small group under BBPA, which is the Sedulous Women. The Sedulous, the name, if you go on, again, my page, the Sedulous Women is there. The Sedulous Women is really good. They have another network, and they actually help businesses. If you're a startup, or if you have a product base like me, and you need to go get into Sobeys or any of these stores, the Sedulous Women actually have a group of women. They help them to get them in the stores, and all these things are on that page. These are resources that is not really out there. It's out there, but we don't know where to find them. Okay, so if you find that group, that my page, or send me a message, I will direct you to that page. Those resources are there for you to connect. Now, I'm not the person that is going to be doing everything for you. As an entrepreneur, you need to have that skill of searching for information. That's what makes you stand out. That's what makes you and makes you successful. So I put those information out there. And if you need extra information, maybe you can ask me, but you have to take the initiative to be seeking for information and be going through it and using the links. All these organizations, if you, especially on Instagram, this is why I like Instagram, they are linked. If you follow them and see the people following them, you can see organizations, you can link up from there. That is how you grow your network and you get access to information. And sign up to all these organizations, their newsletters. Key.
Thank you. So to answer the question, yes, there are resources, there's knowledge, but it sounds like sometimes it might take a little bit more work to find them, but they're out there and they do sound like they help a great deal. So for the next question, I'm going to ask Shekara this question because it makes me think particularly about the area that you're in. I know it was posed to Joyce, but I'm gonna ask Shekara first. Did you ever feel at a place in networking spaces, which can often be overwhelmingly white men or white women? I'm thinking particularly about the brewing scene. And if so, what would have helped you feel more welcome or included to make BIPOC folks feel more welcome in those spaces? So I'm asking you, just thinking, I'm making assumptions, but I'm going to guess that the world of brewing is probably dominated by white males at this time. So did you ever feel out of place? And how did you navigate that? And what could have helped you feel more welcome?
Is it to me, Joyce, or to?
I'm going to ask Shekara first, and then folks can, yeah.
So actually, in terms of building my business, I very intentionally participate only in programs that are geared towards BIPOC folks for that reason. But when we're talking about the brewing world, yes, it is very white male dominated, which is very confusing because brewing was originally women's work, I guess, but that's a longer story, I guess. So yeah, I guess navigating those spaces is quite complicated. But what I'm finding is that when you are in those spaces, you're almost looked to for answers. So I find when we go into breweries, sometimes it happens where, they expect us to come in and just fix their space, which is not necessarily what we're there to do. So I think in terms of what people or white folks, white men, white women, what they can do to help us feel more included is do some research yourself, when our businesses are going to collaborate with white folks, it's not necessarily to do the work for them or to educate them. It's more so to support them in what they should already be doing. Let me make sure I answer the question properly. I'm rereading it here. So to help feel more welcome, I would always say just do the research. And as we go on with Changes Brewing, we kind of become more assertive in that fact. So when we're going to start collaborations now, we're very comfortable saying, what are you doing for the community around you? And if they don't have an answer, then we expect them to go back and do some research, and then we can talk possibly about doing a collaboration. One example, though, I do want to give is with North Brewing. They have been very, very, very good partners for us. It's actually the second collaboration that we've done with them. And they have established a North Brewing scholarship. So basically, biannually, it's twice a year, they're awarding a scholarship to someone who is interested in the brewing industry, who is BIPOC and who is from our area. So that's a good example, I guess, of folks that are doing the work themselves. But yeah, you have to be assertive in these situations.
Great. And we have lots of questions coming in, which is excellent. So I'm going to ask Renee the next question. And I think it's a really great question, especially for entrepreneurs who are kind of transitioning or still in the employment and entrepreneur world at the same time. So can you speak a bit to how you balance growing your business with your full-time work?
Yeah. Hi, Marissa. To answer that question, so I mentioned I work full time. So I would say, like, starting out, because of the pandemic, there's been times where I've been working from home, which allowed me to have kind of more flexibility with my schedule. But I found that oftentimes, like if I had a meeting with somebody about the business, sometimes I found myself taking that meeting over my lunch break or hopping on a call, over my lunch break. So I kind of found time to still work on my business, but also do my job. So after work, that may be that I, work on my business when I get home, or on the weekend, I'm working on my business. Or I found myself, I had a partnership with Tourism Nova Scotia that required me to go to the South Shore on a weekday where I would be working. So I would just take vacation time for that. So kind of just, like being able to balance both sometimes can be challenging, to be honest. But I think with my life in general, I feel like I thrive off of balance. So just kind of finding ways to, work on my business, but also make sure that my job's done, but also create flexibility within my schedule where I can. And so I am fortunate to have a job that allows me to be flexible, because I know that not every job would allow that. So I just kind of make it work, but definitely like evenings, weekends. And I also would say that my business is a lifestyle. So I've kind of like created it as my life. So elevate and explore. So when I'm doing a business trip and I'm going to the South Shore and staying in an accommodation and exploring and taking pictures, that's kind of like, it doesn't feel like work to me. And so I think that that's really like unique about my business, is that it really is my lifestyle. So I'm really fortunate to be able to say that. But I hope that answers your question.
Great, thank you. And thanks for asking the question, Marissa. So Ashley, we have a question for you. The question is, I'm wondering about not only preparing Black students for post-secondary, but what kind of supports are or should be available to them once they're on campus? I think that's a great question, considering this is a faculty and management space and a Promise Scholars initiative. So what types of supports are or should be available to Black students once they're on campus?
That's a really great question. And I think colleges and universities have a number of programs and supports available. I guess the question I'll pose when you're speaking, and the Prep Academy works with historic African Nova Scotian students, not Black students in general. And there is a distinction to be aware of when you're looking at who to support and how to provide those supports. For me, it's the culturally informed piece, and it's who are offering those supports. So I think of students at the high school level. A majority of them have a African Nova Scotian student support worker, full-time individual within their school. That individual supports between, I'd say, 50 to 100 students. It depends on the size of the school. And then they transition to a huge college and university campus, and there is mostly one, if not two, individuals that are designated as like the Black student support advisor. And, I often question, is that a culturally informed approach? Are the supports available at the writing center or health services culturally informed for African Nova Scotian students? Do students feel welcomed in those spaces? So I think the supports that are in place are fantastic supports. There are a number of supports available to students. It's the way that individuals connect with students to offer those supports. And so PrEP is actually going to be starting a student youth advisory council connecting with African Nova Scotian post-secondary students and kind of getting a sense of what supports they took advantage of, what supports would they like to see at the college and university level, and then kind of leveraging that information and sharing it with colleges and universities. But when we talk about academic support, career counseling services, mentorship, or writing and reading center supports, who are supporting those students, and do those individuals are approaching those supports in a culturally informed way, I think is a huge piece from what we're seeing from students and what we're hearing from students. A student support worker asked a great question or made a great statement, is who is going to catch these students once they transition to college and university? And is that the job of one person as the Black student advisor, or is that the job of the collective? And are we prepared to offer that support to a specific group of students? I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, I think so. And in my role at Dal, it's really great to kind of see your name circling the Dalhousie community. I know that you are collaborating with folks in different spaces and places and faculties and conversations. And I think that the work that you do really adds value to what we're trying to do, but it helps to have folks like you outside of the institution kind of supporting and lifting up, and also I think checking in and keeping us accountable, which is great. So we're very close to 10. I have one last question for panelists. Joyce, I'll start with you. What is the best advice you can give to someone who wants to start a business? And maybe we'll think particularly about Black women entrepreneurs who are thinking about it but not sure. What advice can you give them?
Yes. Thank you, Bernadette. What I can say is that if you're thinking of starting a business of Black women, first of all, you need to know, you already know that there are challenges. You have to be open-minded and not take a no for an answer. You need to focus, and you will get a lot of pushback, but you don't let it, throw you off. You need to have, you need to be prepared and not react to any negativity that comes your path, because you get a lot of it. As an entrepreneur, stay connected. Okay, networking is very important. If you want to start a business, stay connected, and then get yourself some other courses, like the this Promise program is quite a good program. There's a Promise Scholars program is quite a good program. But if you don't know about it, you don't know. And you need to put yourself out there to know these things. It's just a skill you have to develop. You have to just put yourself out there. So have an inquisitive mindset to network. And then when you're network, try to figure out where to go for help. And then at the same time, I will go back to the feeling of when you are in a place where you are the only Black person and you're overwhelmed. Know that it's not just here. I've lived in Sweden. It was exactly the same thing. In classroom, everywhere I go, I was the only Black person. Even in the UK was better. Here, it became the same thing. But you have to develop that mindset to overlook. I will tell you one specific example. I was at a trade show, a very big trade show in Toronto, very huge one. And I was the only Black person there. That didn't bother me because I've made myself mute to any negativity or ignore those things, because I've been in so many situations where I have been there and I was uncomfortable. So I have to make myself, I want to do this. This is where I'm going. It doesn't matter what is going on. This is what I want. Go for what you want. Okay? Target what you want. Just ignore any negativity going on around. Even if you are the only Black person, take it as a positive thing, even if anyone targets you. And that is what I wanted to say. My experience was, I was at a trade show. Everything was going fantastic. It was my first time. It was huge. And then I just said I was going to the washroom and someone saw me. That person was a cleaner. Saw me and it was like, oh, are you part of the cleaners? Because I'm Black. I happen to be Black, to be in a place where they don't usually see Black. That thing really got to me. But at the end of the day, I just, picked myself up and focused. You have to be tough. You have to have tough skin and ignore. Pick on the positive things, okay? If there's something you can change, you speak up. Don't be quiet all the time, but don't be shouting all the time. If not, they ignore you. All right? But you just have to have a tough skin and be positive. That's it. And yeah, that's what I can say.
Great. Thank you, Joyce. So I know we're just past 10, so I'll give our other panelists a chance to answer that great question from Bernadette. Shekara, you can go next.
Thanks. Yeah, everything that Joyce said was incredible and spot on. I just wanted to add as well, get very, very familiar with the definition of imposter syndrome, because I find that a lot of the times you'll find yourself in these spaces and you feel like you don't belong there, but you do. I felt that way with this panel. But I think being aware of kind of how that might manifest is very, very important for you to continue pushing forward. The other thing I wanted to mention, especially with this being a panel dedicated to Black women, Black entrepreneurs, is that there's a special quality when it comes to Black women. I find that we don't start businesses just to make money, just to do this or that. Like, we always started because there's a need. So when you heard all of the stories at the very beginning, everyone said, this happened to me. I had this experience, so I didn't want other people to have that experience. And I find that so very common, specifically with Black women. So if you have an idea, definitely go forward with it. Network. As soon as you get into the right doors, like Joyce was saying, there's going to be hundreds of Black entrepreneurs like willing to help you with whatever you need. So if you have an idea, don't think it's bad, or don't second guess yourself. Just see where it can take you.
I like that. Thank you. And the imposter syndrome piece is very important. So thank you for reminding us. Renee, what about you? Any advice?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far. I would also add to choose something that you're really passionate about and just start, which is like, it seems small, but really like self-doubt is a thing. And I think that sometimes we don't start because we want it to be perfect. But just starting in itself is a major like a major step. I would also say staying consistent and, most importantly, believing in yourself. I also, when I started my business, somebody told me lay a brick every day. And I think that that's so important, because it could even be something small, like it could be just introducing yourself to somebody who is another business owner, but just doing something every day that's going to get you to the next level of your business.
Great. Lay a brick every day. I love that. And Ashley, any advice to folks who are thinking about kind of stepping into their identity as an entrepreneur, but not sure how to or where to start? Any advice for them?
Yeah, I think I definitely went through this. I held a lot of my content. So I wasn't sure, should I start a business plan? Do I spend weeks building out what the About Us section looks like? What information do I need to be prepared before I start talking about it? And I held that for probably a year. And if you're not following Ross Simmons on Instagram or Twitter, you absolutely should. The coolest cool. I have my notifications turned on because Ross spits out content that's like, put it out there, start the podcast, connect with the mentor. Once you have your About Us section, start talking to people about that and get their feedback. You don't have to hold on to something and do research. If you know what lane you want to play into, play and come into that space. That's kind of the piece of advice I'll have for folks who want to start.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. It's just after 10. This was a great Thursday morning conversation. So thank you to our panelists. And we want to encourage folks to continue supporting the Promise Scholars Initiative through the Faculty of Management at Dalhousie. It's an initiative that is targeted at Black and Indigenous students to support and nurture them with financial resources, work, and internship experiences. And of course, we want to thank everyone who's with us virtually this morning. And thank you for your questions and your comments in the chat, and just being here with us in this virtual African Heritage Month. So happy African Heritage Month to everyone. And thank you again for being here with us this morning.